It is freezing out today. I think it's like 53 degrees out. It's so cold. I am not at all. This whole getup is unacceptable. Hold please. Much better. Much better. Okay. I am a happy little warm, cozy reader right now. I am ready to rot today. Hey guys, we are back with another one, and I am ready to talk to you guys a little bit about the continued slumpiness that I am feeling today, but I am also freezing and my brain is not functioning. So warm coffee, warm hoodie, we'll get to that in a minute. But I talked to you guys a little bit in my last couple of videos that my brain is feeling very slumpy, and the only books that I am intaking right now and holding interest in are super smutty romance romantasy books, even like dark smutty romance. And I know me, and if I fight what my body wants right now and what my mind wants right now, I am going to push myself into a full-blown slump that will take me forever to get out of. So we're not going to do that. And this week, all we're going to do is mood read all of the smut my little slumpy brain wants. So get ready for some interesting reads this week. But like I said, it's getting colder here in Connecticut, and when it starts getting colder and like going into the winter, I go into full hibernation mode. Like leaving my house, not appealing. Sweatpants permanently glued onto my body. Oversized, warm, soft, plushy hoodie, non-negotiable. And let me tell you, I do not mess around with my hoodie game, okay? I would personally consider myself to be the connoisseur of hoodies. The fit has to be right. The material has to be soft and fluffy. The hood has to be big enough to completely cover my head so that I can properly hibernate. And right now, I think I found it. This right here is my go-to hoodie. And get used to seeing it on me because I'm going to be wearing this for the next 4 months straight. It has gotten to the point where reading in this cold weather does not even feel the same if I am not buried in a warm, soft, chunky, oversized hoodie. So this right here is the original hoodie in the color green tie-dye, and it is my favorite reading sweater. And let me tell you why. First of all, it's huge. This thing goes almost all the way down to my knees, and that means I can suck my knees up into my hoodie while I read like I'm in a little fluffy cocoon. And it's literally a wearable warm blanket. Next reason why this is the best hoodie that has ever been invented is the fully lined Sherpa fleece interior paired with the patented Toasty Tech exterior. What could be better than a cloud of fleece on the inside and a buttery soft fleece on the outside? Cozy vibes to the max. Plus, they come in so many different colors and design options, so you can get yourself a different hoodie for every reading vibe. If you want to see all of the most up-to-date design options and brand collaborations, make sure you follow the hoodie on Instagram. They will be linked in the description down below. But on the more practical side, we all know that I'm a busy full-time mama, and the fact that this whole hoodie is machine washable makes my life so much easier. So if you're like me and find yourself going towards your hibernation and what you are looking for is the perfect hoodie to grab a book, grab a hot drink, and snuggle in for some cool weather vibes, make sure you go and get your own hoodie at the link in the description below, and don't forget to use the code BookedandBusy15 at checkout for 15% off of your total purchase. Thank you so much again to the hoodie for not only sending me yet another of my favorite hoodies, but also for always thinking of my besties here on YouTube and giving you guys a discount so that you don't have to pay full price. So because I'm feeling so slumpy, what is going to be crucial this week is picking out the perfect book that is going to keep me entertained and interested. So if I'm looking at our TBR for this month, I did curate it to what I think I'm going to want to read. So we have to pick out our first book of the week. Or do we just abandon that and just read whatever we want? But I don't think so, because I think there's a bunch of books on here that I think have a decent amount of spice and that will keep me interested. And I think what we're going to do while we read is I'm not only going to give it my usual star rating, but I'm also going to give it chili pepper scales for spiciness in 2 different categories. So the first chili pepper category is going to be frequency of spice, meaning how many spicy scenes or how many spicy topics are discussed in the book. The second spicy category is going to go for quality of smut, right? So it doesn't matter if there's a spicy scene every single chapter. If it's bad, that's actually going to bring my star rating down, because bad smut just gets really cringy. Good smut, on the other hand, could raise the book up a star level. So I want to talk about how often we discussed some spicy topics, but also what the quality of the writing of the specific spice was. So if what we're going for is frequency and quality of spice, what could I go into first? Okay, after taking a look at our TBR, I think I'm going to go for Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I have really wanted to get into this, and I've heard that Emily can write a really good spicy scene. Super excited to see what I think of this. Let's jump right into it. It is now the next day, and I wish that I had captured a little bit more B-roll from yesterday, but it was a crazy busy day. I think I caught a couple of shots of like us at our baseball game, and then after the baseball game I shot an hour away to my father-in-law's house to help him build a shed. And when I say that I helped build a shed, I supervised my father-in-law while my oldest son built the shed. That's what I did. I actually sat on their porch and read while they built the shed. But to me, that counts as helping. Sometimes I feel like staying out of it is the most helpful I could be. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I contributed by not contributing. But never mind. I did get a little bit of reading done. I am now officially 175 pages, which is 52-ish% of the way through Hooked by Emily McIntyre. And let me tell you something right now. This is exactly what my brain wants right now. These smutty fantasy romance books will keep me out of my slump. It is doing everything that I needed to do, obviously, because I read almost 200 pages of it yesterday. You know what? I'm actually thinking about this though. I would not call this a fairy tale retelling. And actually, come to think of it, let me get to the page. This first little part of the book, the author's note, says, Hooked is a dark, contemporary romance. It is an adult, fractured fairy tale. It is not a fantasy. It is not a retelling. The main character is a villain. If you're looking for a safe read with redemption and a bad guy turned into a hero, you will not find it in these pages. Reader discretion is advised. And I agree with what Emily is trying to say, because this, I wouldn't go so far as to say this is a Peter Pan retelling or a Hook reimagining. I think it's more just inspired by Peter Pan and Captain Hook as a general idea, right? Like our main male character is horrible, he's evil, he's dark, and his name is James Hook, and our main female character is Wendy, but it is so loosely based off of Peter Pan, I wouldn't call it a retelling. However, what's really fun while you read this book is just the little details where you see that glimpse of the Peter Pan fairy tale and you're like, oh, like Hook lives on a yacht because he's a billionaire, and he lives there with his friend Smee. So you're like, oh, I get it. But there's really not a retelling of Peter Pan. This is so excellent. And James Hook is definitely dark. He is definitely dark, and it is fantastically smutty, which is giving me everything that I need right now. So I have an hour before I have to leave to go pick up my son from school, and I can't actually read in the car, but I have an hour. I want to sit right now and make a little bit more progress on my Kindle in this book. So let's get a little footage, and hopefully I'm finishing this today.
Give me your strength and show me your weakness. We're in this together now. We're in this together now. Give me your love and tell me your secrets. 'Cause we're in this together now. Yeah, we're in this together now. No, 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 no. I'll keep you safe, I'll give you my everything. Even if we're falling.
It is the next morning. I am back in my hoodie because it was 51 degrees when I took my son to school. I love the fall and I love the cooler weather sometimes, but let me tell you something. The 7 a.m. school drop-offs are bone-chillingly cold. After the summer, it's just like a hard adjustment back to cold weather. Hence why I'll be living in big chunky sweatshirts. But in other news, this furnace has not run all morning. All morning. The second I start talking, we need to warm up water now. We'll wait, don't worry. We're on your schedule, furnace. Don't worry. Now that the furnace has allowed us to get back to business, I officially finished Hooked this morning. And let's just get right into it. I gave this a 4-star. I really liked it. And if you guys have followed my journey with fairy tale retellings, I'm just always so drawn to them, but I've never found one that I've liked until I read Hooked. And because you want to know what? I have to stop calling it a fairy tale retelling because like I said, even Emily McIntyre said it is not a fairy tale retelling. What did she refer to it as? It's an adult fractured fairy tale. And I just think that that even might equate this a little bit too much to a fairy tale retelling or a fairy tale reimagining, because it is a reimagining in the loosest terms. Like, it just basically harkens back to character names and like little parts of the fairy tale. Like, no spoilers obviously, but in this, our main male character is James Hook, and he doesn't like the sound of watches because of something traumatizing to him that happened in his childhood. So it's harkening back to like the TikTok croc and stuff like that. But I wouldn't even say that this super tightly hugs the fairy tale Peter Pan. It really doesn't. It's just a genuinely good book. The writing is great. The spice is great. If we're talking about our spice scale, I said that I was going to give it chili peppers for frequency and chili peppers for quality. So let's talk about, on a scale of 1 to 5, our chili peppers for frequency in this one. I would probably give the chili peppers for frequency a 3.75 chili pepper. So I have read a lot more frequent spicy books. Like, I've literally read books where once the spice hits, it's like every chapter, sometimes 2 smutty scenes a chapter. And that's a lot. This has probably in total like 400 page, 350 page book. It probably has like 5 scenes in it that touch upon spicy stuff, but it's certainly not every chapter. And there is a plot outside of the spice. So I'd probably give it a 3.75 for frequency. As far as the quality of the smut, I'd probably give it a 3.5. Here's what I will say. The smut scenes they always kind of get just like a little repetitive because like we're not reinventing the wheel here, okay? We know how it works. However, like 3 of the 5 spicy scenes were almost exactly the same, even to like the smutty talk was repetitive. So I would probably give it a 3.5 for quality. I really loved this. It's a 4-star book overall. Take it or leave it. So now we have to figure out where we're going next. And I am still eating up all the spiciness. So I'm going to continue on picking spicy books. And I actually put a poll up, or not a poll, a question up on Instagram asking you for some spicy recommendations. And I want to see how that actually turned out. Let's see what your answers were. I hate that Instagram automatically plays the videos when you get on, because it's like, guys, I'm not watching that right now. Okay, let's see some of your answers. So we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Let's look this up. I know this book, a little bit about this book. This is actually in a series. Isn't there like a Doesn't Care series or something like that? Okay. There's The Ritual. I believe this is another dark, possibly bully romance. Let's look that up. The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. It is a Kindle Unlimited book. 600 pages. A 600-page smutty romance? Oh, I don't know if I have a 600-page book in me. Okay, it's a dark standalone. The Chosen One, Barrington University is home of the Lords, a secret society that requires their blood in payment. Okay, so this is like a dark academia, secret society romance, dark romance. 600 pages. All right, so then we also have Any Elsie Silver. I've read a ton of Elsie Silver. I do agree. I could go there. Lila Sage, who's the Done and Dusted and like Swift and Saddled. I've already read Done and Dusted. I could go into Swift and Saddled, and they're really short and really quick. Am I feeling cowboy right now? If I am feeling cowboy, I also got Cash by Jessica P. I've seen a couple of people reading this, so that is a good option. Here's another Ritual. It's really loved, I guess, but it's 600 pages. Graves by Caitlin Taylor. This person said it's darker. Oh, also if I want darker, Satan's Affair by H.D. Carlton. I did read The Cat and Mouse Duet, which is Haunting and Hunting Adeline, and they weren't my favorite. So, but I know Satan's Affair is short. I think it's like a little novella. Kat Singleton's Black Tie Billionaire series. I did read the first one, Black Ties and White Lies. Is that what it was? Or is that the second one? I did read the first one. There was a lot of smut, but it was a little cringy, right? Isn't it a little cringy? I don't know. I remember I'm thinking this one particular scene, like right at the beginning of the book, like you really did just like hop right into the smut in chapter 1. Marin Moore's Orlean U series. Off the top of my head, what is that? Orleans U series. I cannot think of what that is. Oh, wait a minute. I do know these books. Okay. This is the Orleans U series. The first book is Home Run Proposal. It says it's a brother's best friend baseball romance. The second one is Catching Feelings, an enemies to lovers baseball romance. And the third one is Walk Off Wedding, a marriage of convenience baseball romance. Oh. Okay. Let's see what this says. 364 pages. That's much more reasonable. The proposal was simple: score a home run and take my virginity. Except my proposal went to the wrong brother. This would switch up my reading a little bit. It doesn't sound quite as like dark and gothic. Oh, okay. We're going with the first book in the Orleans University series, which is Home Run Proposal by Marin Moore. Okay, it is KU, so I could add it to my KU library. Okay, I could get down with a smutty sports romance right now. I'm so excited.
You know that I lie when I say that I'm fine, 'cause you know me like that. You know me better than anyone I know. And you know I need space, a little time for myself when I'm stressed and upset. You know me better than anyone I know. Darling, we have been to hell and back. That's how I know this is forever. All these years, every single tear, all the regrets and promises, all the cups, breakups, bumps in the road we've been until we break. We keep crashing down, but baby, we got It's you and I. It's you and I. You won't say it out loud, but I can tell you're not.
Okay, next morning, and I have officially made it 113 pages into the home run proposal. So I think I'm going to give like my initial thoughts. Okay, so if you don't know what this is about, this follows our main female character, Hallie. She's kind of socially awkward. She's very virginal, right? Like she's going into her freshman year of college and she's never been kissed and all this stuff. She's a little like, she's like a homebody. She's an introvert. We get it. Okay. So she's going into college like that. And she has these two friends, her female friend Viv and her male best friend Eli, who she's known since she was little. I think their parents like know each other. So they've basically like grown up together. And then Eli has an older brother named Lane who's going into his senior year of college. And he is the pitcher for Orleans University's baseball team, which is the college that they all go to. And separate note, tell me how I was 100 pages into the book when they kept referencing like Orleans University, Orleans University, Orleans University. And then I read this part where it was like, oh, well, in Louisiana. I went, oh, they're in Louisiana. And then I thought to myself, why wouldn't Orleans University be in Louisiana? Separate, but like my brain totally did not process that. So Orleans University is in Louisiana, where all of them go. And Lane is the older brother of Eli, the pitcher for Orleans University, and he is like the star pitcher, right? Like he is expected to be a first round draft pick for the majors. Like he's a big deal. And it doesn't really describe him as a womanizer, but because he's so big in baseball, I think he's very popular with the ladies, if you get what I'm saying. What does he call them? Cleat chasers, something like that, like his little groupies. So her best friend Viv is very like extroverted and funny and says like outrageous stuff. Eli's a little bit more quiet. He's very like studious. But basically she and Viv decide that they're going to start going to more parties because she wants to like put herself out there. And she's tired of being like this little innocent thing and she wants to go and, you know, experience life a little bit. She wants to get a little bit more experience. She doesn't want to go through college this like innocent, virginal, socially awkward person. She's going to put herself out there. And it isn't going well. It just doesn't come naturally to her to go to these parties. She's always doing awkward things and awkward, embarrassing things are always happening to her. So she's in bed one night after something horribly awkward happens to her and she thinks to herself, I'm only comfortable, like the only male I'm comfortable with is Eli. So why don't I just see if Eli would be cool being my first, if you catch my drift, right? Like, why don't I just see if Eli would be willing to be my first? So she writes up this big proposal in true Hallie fashion, right? Just like ever studious, ever overthinking Hallie writes up this like big proposal about like, this is why we should do it. Here's the bullet points, no strings attached. Like, let's just do this. You're more experienced than I am. Like you could help me learn. You could teach me. And she goes to put it under Eli's bedroom door because they all live together in this off-campus house. And she remembers that he told her he was about to jump into the shower and she hears the shower running. So she's like, I think she basically didn't want like to run the risk of anybody else finding this paper on his floor. So she's like, I'm just going to slip it under the bathroom door. He'll see it when he gets out of the shower. Like she goes in and she goes, hey, I'm leaving this paper here, but don't respond. Like, hear me out. Here's what this paper says. I want to explain it. Like, read it over after I'm done. And she leaves. Well, it turns out that the person in the shower was not Eli, but his older brother, the baseball star, Lane Collins, who Hallie has always kind of had a crush on since she was in childhood. And the story progresses from there. So here's my thing about it. It is very cute. The writing is just a little cringy sometimes. Like, it's not great writing, but it's fast writing. And here is what I'm going to say. I like it and I'm flying through it. However, Spicy Brain right now is going to have some objections over the fact that I'm now 113 pages in. Like, nothing spicy has happened. And like, it seems like a lot of unnecessary buildup. This is building up like a slow burn romance for 100 pages, but it doesn't need to be. Like, their relationship is not that deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's slow burning, and I don't feel like we need a slow burn. So I can already tell that this is probably going to be like 380 page book that probably could have had 100 pages edited down if it wanted to. I could be wrong. I'm only 100 pages in, but it is just reading a bit slow. Okay. So I recorded the clip before this. And then my husband has his finals paper for his master's due. So he was like, why don't you sit in your chair while I type my paper and keep me focused? And I sat in my chair and started reading. And like 2 chapters the spice started spicing. And it has been pretty much chapter after chapter of nonstop spice since then. So now I'm kind of loving it. Took a while to build up to get there. But I don't hate that. And my little spicy brain right now was probably just being totally dramatic because I'm very easily bored since I'm feeling so like slumpy. So I was probably being dramatic, but now the spice is spicing. I'm liking it. And I sat there and read until 64% of the way through the book. So now my mission is to finish the book tonight. Raise your hand if you think I could do it. I think I could do it. I do have a little bit of work to do tonight though. And I do believe I'm going to cook dinner for my dad and my boys. Let's see. Before we even start, a couple of things to discuss. If you can hear The Dark Knight playing obnoxiously loud upstairs, like, no you don't, okay? My kids are watching it, and when my kids watch a movie, they think that if it's not blowing their eardrums out, that it's just not the full theater experience. And of course, my husband has hooked our TVs up with like surround sound theater because apparently this is where my children get it. And when you go upstairs, it literally sounds like someone is driving the actual Batmobile through my living room. So we have a whole ass media room down here and they have to watch it upstairs in the main living room. Kids. So fun. Okay, anyways. So if you hear The Dark Knight upstairs, everything is fine. Nothing in my house is crashing. It's just the movie. Second of all, now that we've addressed that, we are at peak homey and homely right now. So I want to get this kind of like update out of the way and then I'm going to go and like handle myself because we're a mess right now. I get it. I know. I hope you are as well. Third of all, I officially finished. I keep wanting to call it Hometown Proposal, but it's Home Run Proposal by Maren Moore. And let's talk about my thoughts a little bit because they're a little interesting. Okay, so first of all, elephant out of the room. I gave this a 4-star. It was so interesting. Like, my potential rating changed. There was like a progression as I went through the book. Like, the first 100 pages, honestly, it was probably sitting at like a 3-star. And then, like, from 50, no, probably a little bit less. Probably like from like 40 to 75% of the way through the book, I probably could have even gone up to like a 4.25, 4.5, somewhere in that. And then from like 75% to the 100% mark of the book, it went down a little bit again. It was like a very strange progression to the book. Let's talk about the positives first. First of all, I absolutely love our characters. Hallie and Lane, our female and male main character, were so cute. Hallie was quirky and cute, but loyal and funny and adorable. And she was like clumsy and quirky, but not in like a cringy, stupid way where you just refuse to believe that someone would live this way at her age. And Lane was fantastic. He was a simp for Hallie, which I'm kind of discovering that I love. And he was sweet and funny and like confident, but not cocky, and athletic and manly and masculine, but not like an asshole. So I loved the characters and I liked them together. They were really, really cute together. And I loved all the surrounding characters like Viv and Eli. Hallie's 2 best friends were adorable and really funny and great additions to the book. And then I'm going to blank on their names, but I think it was like Grant and, oh, he's the main male character in the next book. Begins with an R. Ryder? No, not Ryder. I forget. I'll put it right here. But which are Lane's best friends and members of the baseball team with him were really amazing as well. And I can absolutely see, I think there's currently 3 books in the Orleans University series, and I can definitely see how the next book is going to go. And I think I'm really going to like the next one. So I'm absolutely continuing. So those were the really great things. Let's talk about some of the things that like kind of pushed my star rating down to a 4 a little bit, which is still an amazing rating. I really enjoyed the book. I think that the pacing was off in this book. I think I talked about it a little bit from like the beginning to like 115 pages in. It was just very slow, which was strange, and I wasn't enjoying it as much. And then it picks up, and I really, really liked it. And then in like the last bit of the book, I feel like it kind of like almost got too fast, right? So like it was really slow in the beginning third of the book, and then in the middle third of the book was like a good pace, like really fast, kept me intrigued, kept me interested. And then in like the last third of the book, or like the last quarter of the book, it was like obsessed, like in a strange way after only dating for like a couple of months. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but it went from like slow to good to almost too fast. My battery's gonna die. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. Batteries are the bane of my existence. So here's what I'm going to say about this. It was just kind of strange because for so much of the book, I felt like the situations in the conversation and kind of like the progression of the relationship was so like not age appropriate, in that Hallie was supposed to be a freshman, which insinuates she's like 18, and Lane was a senior, which insinuates he's like 22. And for so much of the book, I just felt like the conversations they were having and the decisions they were making were kind of more mature. And like the conversations they were having, so many of them, I was like, wow, this is like way mature for a bunch of college kids that are making just like a hookup pact, I guess is what it was. Like they were just going to hook up a bunch. But then it's so funny for me of all people to think that, because my husband and I like got together at 19, had our son at 21, and were married by 23. So for me to be like, oh my God, these kids are way too young to be having these conversations. Like, I'm a total hypocrite. Like, that was Eric and I when we were that age and much younger. So, and Eric and I are the same age. I'm a month and a half older than him. So we didn't even have that age gap. So I guess it's really not that unusual for them to be having like these mature situations and mature conversations. And I, in fact, was making much more mature decisions before and at a much younger age than Hallie was. So I guess that's kind of silly of me, but something about the book, sometimes they were like, maybe it's that they were like in this college situation and like living at the university, like away from their parents. And my husband and I were in a different situation where we were both going to school at home. So like maybe it was that the university setting made them feel a bit younger than Eric and I felt. I don't know. Or maybe it was just that Eric and I are different people than Hallie and Lane, so they just felt a little bit different, like maturity-wise, than we did. But sometimes I would like kind of forget that these were like university kids, because you could have taken this story and this situation and these conversations and made them 30, and it would have kind of been like similar, in my opinion, a lot of the times. So sometimes I felt like they were written a bit older than they were supposed to be. Maybe not so much Lane. He was 22. Still kind of. But certainly Hallie at 18 years old just seemed like she was written a bit older than she was supposed to be. So that kind of created some like discontinuity in my brain with like connecting to her character or finding it believable. But I really did like the book. So let's talk about our spice scale. Okay, this is also going to be kind of difficult. This is a tough one, because if we're going on spice frequency first, if we were rating this between like pages 0 and 115-ish, it would have been like 0. Maybe I'd give it like a half of a pepper, or like up to a full pepper, because there were some like internal thoughts, like some internal dialogue, as well as like some conversations with Hallie's best friend Viv that used some like spicy words, if you know what I'm saying, or like some thoughts in her head were a bit spicy, but it wasn't actual spice. So I was from page like 0 to 113, 115 would be like half chili pepper to maybe 1 if I was getting like super picky about it. But from 115 on till the rest of the book, it was almost nonstop. I would literally give it like 5 chili peppers. So if I'm looking at the whole book, I would probably give it like a 4 to a 4.25 chili peppers for frequency. It was really spicy really often in the last like 2/3 of the book, like the majority of the book. Now, if we are talking about quality of spice, this is where I think it gets me, because I did like the quality of the spice. It was well written. It didn't get super repetitive. Every encounter, let's say, was just a bit different. And because I really liked Hallie and Lane's connection so much, I think it made the spice like that much better for me. And because I really liked them together, I found it believable. Also, in between the spicy scenes, Hallie and Lane were having like really good conversations and were like going out with their friends, and you saw them like interacting with their friends. So even though it was very frequent, it wasn't just like that was their entire relationship. Like, I do also require some relationship building, and this had that. So as far as spice quality, I think I would give this a 4.5 on spice quality. Wow. So a 4 and a 4.5, that's really good on our spicy scale. Plus a 4-star rating as a whole, this was a win. Okay, so if you can't tell, it's late. I obviously am a mess. I'm exhausted and my voice is shot for the day. I sound raspy and manly. So honestly, you know what I'm gonna do for the rest of the night? I'm gonna go take a shower. I'm gonna go clean my kitchen, lay in bed. I am honestly going to finish, I think I have like 10 chapters of Apprentice to the Villain for the Homie and Homely Book Club. I think I'm going to work on my chapters or finish my chapters for that tonight. And I'm going to pick our next spicy book in the morning. So it's going to be a full 8 hours for me, but like 2 seconds for you guys. So take it away, future Lindsay. Okay, next morning. And we're going to keep it down because it's like 7:15 on a Saturday and the rest of my family's sleeping. My youngest son does have a baseball game, so I have to wake him up in a little bit, but I think I'm gonna have like 45 minutes of uninterrupted reading time to myself this morning while I drink my coffee. So this morning's coffee is a vanilla toffee caramel latte, and it's amazing. So I did not get my chapters read in Assistant to the Villain last night. I read 3 out of like 10 or 11 that I have to read. So I think I might actually make a little bit more progress in that this morning. But I also know where I'm gonna go as far as for this Spicy Reads video. So let's talk about it. I was chatting with a couple of you guys in the comments, and a couple of you all told me that Gothicana by Runix was one of your favorite reads of the year. That's a lot. And you guys also told me it's really spicy. So I think I'm feeling Gothicana by Runix this morning. I actually realized I don't really know a ton about this, but I think this might be, is this teacher-student dark romance? And I don't think I've ever read teacher-student. I'm not entirely sure how I'm gonna feel about it. I guess it's gonna have to be done in like the quote right way for me to really connect with it. So I'm excited to see if this is going to be something that connects with me. All right, how long is this? Like 400 pages? Look at how beautiful this edition is though. Like all throughout this edition, there's like really beautiful artwork. Let's see if I can just oh yeah, right here. Oh, it must be the chapter pages. Look at how stunning. Like the angel. I might have to physically read this one because I'm assuming these photos are in the Kindle edition. We'll have to look because I do have it on my Kindle as well. But if not, I'm gonna read the physical edition because that artwork is beautiful. Oh wow, okay, look. So the naked hardcover has this, but then also look at the artwork on the inside. Wow, stunning. I don't know if this was the first edition or if this was the Barnes & Noble exclusive. And I have no idea if this is still being sold, but if it is, this is a beautiful edition. Go grab it if this interests you. It's 2 days later. Must do scratch right now. He's been sleeping. He's been quiet all morning. He is Newton, my dog, my 90-pound small pony that lives in my house. He has been sleeping quietly all morning. Hasn't moved, hasn't done anything. The second I start talking, he's got an itch behind his ear. You good, bro? I love you. Okay. So, like I said, it is 2 days later. And I had not even touched a book. I have not started Gothicana. There was zero reading going on, but I have an excuse. Let's put this down. I think I said in a couple of previous clips that I felt like I might have been coming down with something because every single time the season changes, I go down for the count. Like, not majorly, but I get a cold. I don't know what it is. And it's between every single season. And living in Connecticut, I get 4 of them, okay? 4 very distinct seasons. And although it is only fall or autumn, whatever you call it, although it is only fall here in Connecticut right now, it is the coldest fall that I am remembering in a really long time. When I brought my son to school this morning, it was like 34 degrees out. I mean, don't get me wrong, like in October it gets cooler, clearly, obviously, than the summer, but freezing in October does not happen too often. It's not that it's abnormal, I've seen it tons of times before, but it's certainly not common. And it's so weird because we never know what we are going to get on Halloween. Some Halloweens are bone chilling. Like, in order to go trick-or-treating, you have to bundle up in winter jackets and it's in the 40s, low 40s. And then other Halloweens, it's like 70 and kids are running around in short sleeve shirts. So you literally never know what you're gonna get. It's near impossible to dress in Connecticut at this time of the year because in the morning it's in the 30s and in the afternoon it's in like the high 60s, low 70s. So you never know what's gonna happen on a daily basis or like on an hourly basis. But long story short, every single time we have an intense season change, I end up, I don't know if it's like atmospheric pressure or what my deal is, but I end up getting all clogged up, all yucky, and I just don't feel good. But mom life doesn't stop when mom doesn't feel good. You catch my drift? So it's not like I've been like laying around for 2 days. I've been running like a crazy person. I just lose steam and get exhausted 3 times faster. So normally I run around like a crazy person all day and then I get in, I make dinner, kids shower, start chilling out for the night and going to bed, and I can read for a couple hours. And I get 3 to 4 hours of reading done at night. Now when we've been getting home, I do dinner, they do showers, and we start chilling out, I'm asleep. The other day, my husband had to wake me up and physically pull me out of the lazy boy because I would have slept the night in the living room. I was that conked out. Like, I was done. So when I get really, like when I'm not feeling good or when I get really yucky feeling, I just want to sleep it off and I get tired really fast. So I've read nothing because I've been asleep by like 8 o'clock every single night. My kids put themselves to sleep because I'm usually completely zonked out. So I hadn't started reading. However, this morning I did start feeling a little bit better. Advil, cold, and flu is like holding me together right now because I have quite a nasty cough. But I did get up a little bit earlier than my boys this morning and just start Gothicana. I just took the cover off of it because it's a hardcover, so like obviously. And I did get to page 14, which I think is like halfway through chapter 1. I don't want to give you my thoughts yet because I know literally nothing, but I will say 14 pages in, not only am I loving the style of this book, but I have a weird feeling this is exactly what I want right now. I'm reading about this dark Gothic magical university and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just what I want right now. I want like Gothic dark academia. Like, I hope the stakes are kind of high in this because I could get down with some high stakes dark academia. I don't know, but I'm also hoping that it's super smutty, and a bunch of you have told me that it is. However, I can't tell you about any of that yet because I just simply don't know. I'm only 14 pages in, but I will say this edition is, I believe, the Barnes & Noble edition, and it is gorgeous, which is why I opted to read it physically because I do have this on my Kindle. But I looked at the map in the beginning of the book, and there's something about me that when there's a map in a book, I take it very literally. And as I'm reading, I keep wanting to come back and like reference the map. So when our main female character goes, oh, I have to go meet so-and-so at the administrative office, I flip to the front and I go, okay, where's the administrative office? Oh, it's in the main hall on the right-hand corner right there. And for some reason, for me, that enhances like the way it feels real in my brain. I don't know if I'm the only one. Comment below if you are a very map-oriented reader, right? Like if there's a map at the front of the book, I enjoy flipping back to the front throughout the book so I know where exactly our characters are in relation to the map. And on the Kindle, that's just not easy. So I think I'm opting to read this physically because I'm also enjoying how stunning this edition is. I want to show you. And there's like additional artwork. Let me find it. At the beginning of every chapter. So this says, quoth the Raven, nevermore, Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven, which I'm assuming this book takes heavy inspiration from. But like at the beginning of all the chapters, there's just this gorgeous artwork. We are each our own devil and we make this world our hell. Oscar Wilde, The Duchess of Padua. So I'm loving the experience of physically reading this. I think that probably would be on the Kindle, but I'm just liking it more physically holding it and being able to flip back and forth. So right now, what time is it? It's 9:34. And we are going to my dad's place in the Cape next week. He leaves on Sunday. He spends a couple of days like just hanging out by himself, but also like making sure everything's cool at the condo before we get there. And then we could just relax for the time that we're there because he's the best. So we are going there next week, but I have some stuff to do with him today before he leaves on Sunday. So we are going to get lunch. We are going to run some errands, but I think right now I do have a couple of hours where I could sit and make some progress. So I think I might set like a 2.5 hour timer and read till noon and then text him and go get some lunch. I'm feeling Chick-fil-A today. I'm craving it. I woke up this morning thinking of Chick-fil-A, but where I live, Chick-fil-A is a half hour away. So do I want to do an hour-long round trip drive for Chick-fil-A today? I think it might be worth it. So I'll update you later. But for right now, let's go ahead and sit down and try to knock out at least 2 hours of Gothicana. Okay, so horrible angle, but this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I want. Ready? Well-manicured gardens littered small sections between different wings of the castle, people milling about in a few of those. High turrets graced distinct towers that Corvina could see. The stone walls were spaced with arched windows and climbing vines, some blooming with roses at the bottom. Gargoyles stuck out high in the walls, masking the water gutters in a grotesque display. The top of each tower was covered with some kind of deep blue stone that contrasted with the light brown of the rest of the buildings. It was breathtaking. Oh, yes, perfection, yes. Exactly what I want, exactly, yes. Okay, yet again, ready? Their room was surprisingly beautiful. It was much more spacious, much bigger than her bedroom had been at the cottage, with 2 twin-size beds facing each other, a bedside table beside each, and a huge wooden armoire cupboard at the corner. Directly opposite the entry door was a large, stunning, arched window that looked down at the castle fence amidst the lush green woods, and then farther down the mountain. The ceiling was high and had wooden beams she knew were a signature feature of Gothic architecture, one she couldn't remember the name of for the life of her. Thick, dark green drapes hung to the sides of the windows, tied together with a polished rope. It was beautiful and more luxurious than anything she'd known before, and it would get drafty as hell with the wind since the tower had no heating. At least the weather was tolerable for the time being. It's just perfectly dark academia. Whew. Okay, so today was a very update-free day because I'm going to be completely honest with you. I feel yucky. Today was a day where I just wanted to stay home, do some laundry, read. I napped on and off all day long. I took like a 3-hour nap. And comment below if you're the way that I am, because for some reason, when I nap, I wake up feeling worse. Like, I don't know what the deal is. I would love to be one of those people that like feels kind of like fatigued during the day and lays down and takes an hour-long nap and wakes up rejuvenated and ready to go. That's never how napping goes for me. I always lay down, wake up like 3 hours later and feel like absolute trash for the rest of the day. I just feel like my head's in a fog. I'm lethargic. Like, I can't recover from a nap and like jump up and continue on with my day. But sorry, by the way, if you hear the boys upstairs. We are currently in the middle of a very contentious Yankee game. It's hardcore in this house. Yankees for life. And last night's game was ridiculous. And tonight is their game for redemption. So the boys are upstairs watching and I'm about to go up and join them. But so the reason why there was no updates is because I did sit on the couch and I made it like 263 pages into Gothicana. I'm now on chapter 21. I think that's like 60%, 61% of the way through the book. It seems like more when you stare at the physical book, but my Kindle says 61%, and I think Goodreads does too, so I'll take their word for it. I am loving this book. I don't know if it's just like right book, right tropes, right time, like that dark academia smut, like spice, that's just something is like clicking with me right now, but I am loving it. Loving it. Runix's writing is fantastic. Just the right amount of description where I can picture it in my head, but not overly done and overcomplicated where it's like too wordy and it bores you. So 260 pages in, the basic gist of what I'm going to tell you this is about is we have a girl who had a bit of a rough upbringing. Her name is Corvina Clem. She was raised by a mother who struggled with mental health, and her mother is institutionalized. And after that happens, she gets a note in the mail inviting her to be admitted to Varenmore. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Varenmore University. She's a little bit older. She's 22, but she's going to go back as a slightly older student. And I think it's like a 2-year associate's program. And then you could choose to stay on for as long as you're becoming a student, because I know our main male character is currently working on his doctorate and he's been there for a very long time. So when she gets to Varenmore, which by the way, the school is written excellently. They have a really cool map at the beginning of it. Like you could just picture it. Let me see if I can get my big head out of the way. But this map, there's Varenmore. So they have like the academic wing, the main hall, the staff quarters, and then the student housing. I don't know why, I just love that map with like the mysterious woods and the lake in the background. But when she gets to Varenmore, she's quickly kind of runs into one of the, I don't want to call him a professor because like I said, he's in his doctorate program. So he's like teaching while he obtains his doctorate because there was a staffing shortage. There was like a staff opening and he's teaching. Like I said, I'm going downhill. But there was like a staffing opening. So he is teaching while he gets his doctorate. So it is a student teacher vibe, but he's also a student. And it's not like this is like an 18-year-old freshman with like a 40-year-old professor. Like she's 22 and he's 28 and currently in his doctorate program. So I feel like that's a little less creepy because when I heard it was like a teacher-student romantasy, I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. That like position of power is weird to me. But it is at a college and they are 2 older adults and his student professor status is kind of like vague. So it doesn't bother me, but this is excellent. It is everything I've been wanting right now. I'm loving it. And hopefully, I don't even know how many pages I have left. What I say I'm on 260 and there's, without seeing spoilers, what is this? How many pages here? Oh wow, there's a playlist in the back. What's on the playlist? What do I know? Black Magic Woman. Oh, a bunch of Hosier, Denmark and Winter, Evanescence, oh, Florence and the Machine, Hidden Citizens, The Rigs. What else do I know? I'm going to be completely honest with you. Oh, Halsey. Hot take. I'm not a huge music person. When I'm in the car, I very rarely listen to music. Sometimes I do, but I'm a podcast, like news, YouTube video type of girl. Music lulls me to sleep and like makes me tired, especially if you're listening to the radio and it's the same like 15 songs just on a loop track. It just bothers me. So I'm not a gigantic music person, but Billie Eilish, Lana Del Rey. Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is mine, but anyways, I digress. I'm on page 260 and there is 392 pages left to the book. So I have like 130 pages left. I am feeling pretty tired and it's currently 9:20. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay up and read, but I'm hoping that I could sit down and finish. But the Yankee game's priority tonight. I can't lie to you guys. So I'm going to go up, watch the Yanks, see if I can absorb some reading, and I will touch base with you in the morning. Okay, so you're getting another weird, unflattering car angle, but I'm desperately trying to make sure that the parents at the event I'm at right now don't see me filming myself in the car like a total weirdo. I just wanted to give you some thoughts. I guess I should turn my ambiance off really quick, huh? Okay, so I didn't end up finishing last night. I ended up passing out on the couch, but I am like 80-something% of the way through the book, and it says I have an hour left, and I'm definitely going to do that today. But I was sitting here, I was just reading some scenes, and obviously, like I've said, this is dark academia, but I was just reading some scenes where she was talking about like finishing up her paper because it was coming into finals and they haven't seen each other a ton because she's so busy with finals, and describing like sitting in the library and sitting in like all these other rooms. And I had this realization that like I think I just pinpointed one of the things that works for me, particularly in this type of dark academia. And don't get me wrong, like stick with me for a second. One of the things that works is the way that this incorporates the academia into the story. And I think that's one of the reasons why I absolutely loved Harry Potter, because you became so incredibly entrenched in Hogwarts and the classes and the daily life. And like you could picture the campus, and they didn't lose the plot while also describing the actual school and academia. And Gothicana is doing something very similar, obviously in a much more adult way. But Gothicana is doing something very similar where there's a plot and there's a mystery and there's a romance and there's like a fantasy paranormal element, but you're also so entrenched in their daily academic life, and you have such an understanding of Varenmore as a university. And I can so picture the actual school and the buildings and the grounds and the gardens and the woods and the staff quarters, and it's just so incredibly well done. And I love this type of academia. Sometimes you read like an academia book or a dark academia and it's touched upon that they're in some sort of schooling environment, some sort of university environment, but like they just don't go there with it. Like they let the plot or the romance overtake the location and the setting and the world, if that makes sense. And I don't like that. I like it to have a balance, and Varenmore feels very dynamic and very real, and I'm loving that. And I had this moment where I was like, the way that Runix is writing Varenmore is so incredibly similar and just as enthralling as the way J.K. Rowling wrote Hogwarts, if that makes sense. So just a thought I had. I didn't want to lose it before we got back, but we are actually at my son volunteers with a group here in our town. He's a soccer coach for a group here in town, and we're at his practice. I figured I'd just sit and wait because it's only like an hour. So I'm going to make some more progress, but I just had that thought and I didn't want to lose it. So if you are like me and you want to read an academia that actually focuses not only just on the plot and the romance, but also on the actual academia, I think you'd really like Gothicana. But be ready for some spice, because this is delivering on some spice, let me tell you. So back to reading. I just finished Gothicana. This right here is a 4.5 star. Oh my God. Why was this so good? Oh. Okay, so I don't even know where to start. Like I said in the last clip, if you are like a me kind of reader, right? This is dark Gothic academia, in my opinion, done spotlessly. Like, so good. And the writing is so good. It's the perfect balance of lyrical but not overcomplicated, like to a condescending point to the reader. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest, hot take. I read One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, and her writing just comes across for me just so pretentious and just like unnecessarily complicated. Like, girl, you're not telling that complicated of a story. Like, it doesn't need to be like that. It's like inaccessibly complicated to me. This was beautifully done writing that didn't take itself too seriously, if that makes sense. Like, you got some great quotable lyrical moments, but then it was very easy to understand and very easy to read. Our characters, great. The setting, top tier dark academia, dark Gothic, like university setting. The only reason why this wasn't a 5-star was the way that everything wrapped up in the end did come across a little bit like it was rushed to me. Like, you read this entire 380 page book and then the ending came across a little bit rushed. And I did find it like a little bit in its rushedness. There was a little bit of like kind of unexplained things, but I'm not being too harsh on it because the second book, Enigma, does come out soon, and I'm hoping that that was purposely done and that more is going to be explained in Enigma. But for right now, the way it ends, you kind of have to wait for the next one to make some stuff make sense. I'm trying not to give anything away, but this book, this is probably going to go in my list of one of my favorite books that I've read this year because it was that good. Please, if you like dark Gothic academia with a ton of spice, Runics might be for you. All right, so since I just touched upon the spice, let's talk about our spice scale. So this was spicy, okay? This just was everything that I wanted right now, to be completely honest with you, and that's why I got a 4.5. If we're talking about frequency of spice, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4 chili pepper. It was a ton. Now, it wasn't every single chapter, but once they started, they didn't stop, if you catch my drift. But it wasn't every chapter, so I'm giving it a 4 chili pepper on the frequency scale. As far as quality of spice, I'm also going to give it a 4 chili pepper. The reason why it's not a bit higher, the spice was excellently done. It was very good. But the only reason why it doesn't get a little bit higher than that is because it did kind of fall into the trap of that a lot of spicy books fall into, in that the repetitive wording got a bit overused, right? And I get it, like how much can you change up? Because, you know, it kind of is what it is. The mechanics are the mechanics, if you're catching what I'm saying. But it did get just a bit repetitive. Like, the same phrases and the same actions started making their way into every spicy scene. Trying to keep this relatively PG, guys, but you get what I'm saying. If you've read some spicy books, you kind of get what I'm saying. So after a while, like the first couple of times you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, oh, that's, and then after a while you're like, oh, didn't I just read this like 3 chapters ago? So, but it was excellently done. This was by far the spiciest book that we read this week, and maybe that's why I loved it so much. All right, so full disclosure, I had a crazy busy day, and I'm actually still very much feeling like under the weather. So I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'm driving 15 minutes away because I am blessed enough to live in like the pizza capital of the world, and we are getting the world famous Pepe's Pizza for dinner, which I'm so excited about. It's so good. So I have to go and pick up the pizza, but we started the week reading Hooked, and I gave this a 4-star. Then I moved on to read The Home Run Proposal, and I gave this a 4-star as well. And we rounded out the week with Gothicana, which is now one of my favorite books that I have read so far in the year of 2024. This got a 4.5 star, and I think everyone needs to run and read this book. I mean, honestly, all 3 of these books were excellent, so go and grab any of them. You know, you want a little sports romance, go for The Home Run Proposal. You want a little fairy tale reimagining, go for Hooked. If you want like a dark academia, go for Gothicana. You can't go wrong. I had an excellent week of reading. So if you stuck around this long, comment the castle emoji for the University of Varenmore in Gothicana, and then do all of the things that you are so professional at doing. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Hopefully healthy. Bye, guys.